Apifa, I would love to hear from you about, how do you feel that we can create some sustainable support and change just beyond using the Black Lives Matters hashtag as well?
I think something that people need to address at the beginning of kind of doing this work and trying to be an ally is that Blackness is not the barrier, white supremacy is. And I think when you frame your evaluation about what's going on in that way, you can come about it a little bit more meaningfully. Addressing Blackness or seeing Blackness as the kind of issue or barrier that people are facing puts you in that position of making assumptions about what the Black experience is, similar to what Louisa said, whereas understanding that like systemic racism is the barrier, it allows you to see things from a more, I think, holistic and intersectional way. And alongside those lines, looking at how much access you have is a big thing I agree with. I think we all have access or like different sort of power in different ways, and seeing how you can use that power to help others or to uplift others is huge. So a lot of organizations and like student groups are implementing like equity and diversity chairs. I think something that I would respond to that with is not to say not to hire people, like definitely hire people, but if the only Black people in your organization, whether that is a corporate organization or a student organization, are in an equity role, I think you need to reevaluate how you're coming about your allyship work in terms of bringing more Black people into your spaces, into your programs, no matter what kind of level of access you have. If Black people are only at the lower level kind of end of that program, think about like broadening that scope a lot, think about broadening that scope a lot. A large part of allyship work is analyzing the privilege or the access that you have and recognizing that doing this well and doing it meaningfully means giving up some of what you got, and we should be okay with that. Equity shouldn't be a consideration, it is the expectation. And so making sure that everyone is getting equity training, making sure that we're having these conversations regularly. In terms of, I think financial support is huge. Donations have been coming out, like a ton of donations have been coming out recently, but that needs to be a more long-term sustained effort. A lot of people are donating to bail funds, and I want to encourage people to recognize that policing is an issue 365 days of the year. Bail funds are important 365 days of the year, and not just bail funds, mentorship programs, for example, and other programs that focus on Black populations need sustained donations, and creating kind of a function or behaving in a way where you only donate when something is on the news or something like really big happens that you notice, makes those organizations a little bit less sustainable because they don't have reliable income to rely on to be able to serve the communities that they help. And I think a huge thing is, again, listening to the Black people who have decided to take up the space to educate, recognizing that just because someone in your workplace is Black or your friend is Black does not necessarily mean that they are prepared to have a conversation with you, that they want to have a conversation with you, or that they are an educator. There are a lot of resources online. There are YouTube channels, Instagram accounts, Twitter accounts that are speaking to these problems. And also, I think I'm going to take off my kind of program developer hat for a minute and say that trust individuals when they say that they need assistance. I think there is a common belief that we can only donate to recognized organizations because they're the only people that know how to use the money properly, but people have the capacity to verbalize their needs as they deem fit. And I think I'm trying to make a more personal commitment to donate to individuals via PayPal or Venmo when they post and say, hey, I'm short on rent, or hey, I need this, because I think we need to have a more community-based approach to our giving as well. The last thing I'm going to say is that reading books or watching YouTube videos and educating yourself is hugely important, but a fair piece of the work is making sure that if you are a person that has more access or more privilege, that you're taking that platform and using that space to educate those around you, and you're kind of carrying the mantle in that way. Have those uncomfortable conversations with your family members, your friends. If you see something, say something. It shouldn't be that we have kind of a bystander response to racism and what is going on right now. It shouldn't be that something terrible has to happen and we have to watch it happen before we talk about it after the fact. If something is happening in front of you, please call it out. And if you hear someone saying something that maybe is not okay, or you need to call out something, or if you're at the boardroom and there are no Black people at the table, call it out. You don't have to be Black to do the work, and you don't have to be Black to advocate for Black people. We're going to get there with everybody on board. And it's important that everyone takes up that Black Lives Matter as personally as I think Black people do. For me, like, this is very realistically like life and death. This is my community's like survival. And I think it's very important that other people understand that it is our human community's survival that we're advocating for here, recognizing, I think, the heavy weight, but also not being afraid to speak up. You might make mistakes, that's okay. But the fact that you might make a mistake or make a misstep or say something wrong shouldn't be the thing preventing you from speaking out.